Can an ancient social system dictate how we live in the 21st century?
Caste system is a kind of a disease.
Rahul Sonpimple, the son of a Dalit rickshaw puller, speaks from experience.
During my school days, I would wash cars in upper caste households. And when me and my friends would ask drinking water, they would simply refuse. And they would ask us to drink the tap water which we used to use for the car washing. Even animal could not even drink that water.
Welcome back to My Indian Life from the BBC World Service, the podcast about what it means to be young and Indian in the 21st century. I'm Kalki. I'm telling you stories about some incredible people who are willing to go to great lengths to pursue their dreams. This is episode 7, A Question of Caste. At BBC. First of all, a huge thanks to all those who have heard our podcasts and been in touch. I'll include some of your responses at the end of this episode, so keep listening. And you too can get in touch. Here's how. You can reach me at BBC World Service on Twitter and Facebook using the hashtag MyIndianLife or email me at myindianlife@bbc.com. Today's episode is about conflict between traditional beliefs and modernity. It's the story of a young man placed at the bottom of the caste system who refuses to fit into the mold that caste hierarchies have assigned him. Rahul Sonpimple is a Dalit activist. He's 30 and is fighting for what he believes is a more just and equal society. We traveled to the slum in Nagpur in central India, where he was born and grew up, the city where he worked as a child. We hear his mother describe the hopes she had for him.
अभी क्या सपना है? ये सपना है मेरा लड़का अच्छा बने, बड़ा बने, अच्छा बड़ा बन के नाम रोशन करे मेरा वाला.
She's saying it's her dream that her son will become a big man and take her name forward. And his elder brother who helped to make it come true.
मुझे लगता था इसके राहुल के अंदर कि ऐसा लगता था कोई स्पार्क है. तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि हमने सबने पूरी एनर्जी राहुल के ऊपर हमने लगा दी कि भैया ये कुछ कर सकते हैं.
He says Rahul had a spark. So they put their energies into supporting him and believed he could do something. For thousands of years, caste has dictated almost every aspect of Hindu religious and social life. In large parts of India, it still decides where you live, who you socialize with, what you eat, or who you marry. There are 4 main caste groupings. At the top are the Brahmins, followed by the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. The group that Rahul belongs to, 3 of Dalit, and historically it's been the most disadvantaged. They were called Achhuts, or untouchables. They lived on the fringes of society, in ghettos, doing menial jobs that no other castes would do. Not surprising then that they remain among the poorest. Nearly 2 in 3 of the more than 201 million Dalits in India live in poverty. Rahul's father migrated to Nagpur from a village in Bhandara district to escape poverty.
Most of these people who are living in slums are the migrants, the landless laborers in the village. In village also, the situation is very bad. So what do? They come to city because in the city they don't have to face the immediate operation. So for example, you are Dalit, means you are not a human being at all. So that time when my father migrated, he used to tell us that in the village, nobody would call them by their name. They would call them by their caste. Always. In upper caste especially, they will give you the another name. So for example, they will call you Dagdu. They would call the Marathi dumb. You are like stone, no feelings, nothing. Dagdu, come here. Like if you don't want to work in their field, they will come and just burn your houses. So this was situation. So they migrated. They started working in some factories, some other jobs and all these things.
He found work as a cycle rickshaw puller while his mother worked on building sites. Rahul says he was deeply influenced by his father. Like the Dalit icon Baba Ambedkar, he had embraced Buddhism and liked telling stories to his son, especially those with a strong moral core.
My father used to tell this is a rule of law. The dukkha and sukha is a rule of law. The very idea of
suffering and happiness are
part of life.
Life.
So now we are having dukkha. If you go the Buddha's way, means the moral way. You don't cheat. You struggle. So one day you will be having your own life. If you struggle, if you work hard, then you can come out of it.
Rahul's father died when he was 13 after a long illness. The money his mother and 2 elder brothers made was not enough for the family. Rahul too had to work during the school vacation to help support himself and his two younger brothers. His first job was in a small hotel, and his first salary, 7 rupees a day and a samosa, and an earful of galis or abuses. What were you doing in the hotel?
A cleaning job,
Cleaning.
like in serving the samosa and the snacks and other things, bringing water from the bore well.
Tell us about like the treatment in when you were young. Have you got memories of that?
If you don't work, or you're tired, you want to sit, so then you'll get galis, like and this is usual stuff. So wherever
And customers, any
they
stories?
also do, like in such hotel or like these places, you can't expect that anybody will ask you in a good manner. But then I left that job because I didn't like it.
But not working was not an option, and Rahul's next holiday job was on a construction site.
Because in my slum, majority of people, they work in this aluminum fabrication work, this window, the glass window, the glass door. So then I started going with them as a helper. That time I used to earn like 25 rupees per day. Then it got increased 30, then 35. Then when I started learning the stuff, then I started getting 70, 80 rupees.
Forced by the circumstances and crippling poverty, his older brothers dropped out of school at a very young age to work full-time. Rahul had to walk 5 kilometers to school and back daily, and few people in the slum could understand why he bothered.
When we, walk back to your slum or the area, there are people who will ask you, like, why the hell you are going to school? Their life is like
So
possible.
you mean like friends from the slum? Your friends would be
neighbors,
like, why are you bothering?
because they don't go to school.
Young minds are impressionable, and the formative years can be make or break for anyone. His father, who had given him lessons in morality, was dead. His mother was hard at work, trying to ensure that there was food on their plates. With his older brothers at work, Rahul was often left to his own devices. There were dark days. Did you ever feel the pressure to just leave all this?
Yeah, many time. I used to think like, why the hell I am also going to school? Because when I was working with this youngsters from my basti, those who never go to school, means like they left school 3rd standard, 4th standard. So sometime I used to like their life because it's so cool. Go to work, get money, just beat someone. Like I used to be very aggressive, and somebody beats me, so I'll make sure that I beat that guy. So that was a thing. But I wanted to become rich. I didn't want to die in the poverty.
Although caste discrimination is a crime under Indian constitution, it remains a rude reality. Police statistics show that crimes against Dalits have been increasing over the years. In 2016, nearly 800 Dalits were killed, and police received more than 40,000 complaints of atrocities against them. Earlier this year, PM Narendra Modi appealed to the people to help end caste repression. We need to build a new India which is free from the venom of casteism, he told a rally in Gujarat. Rahul quotes Ambedkar to say that caste is a disease and that upper castes carry it wherever they go. He talks about lower castes who've converted to other faiths like Islam or Christianity or Sikhism, but who still face bigotry. Children, he says, are introduced to caste at a time when they are too young to understand these differences. That's why when upper caste children from his neighborhood wanted to play with him, it was their mothers who would turn up their noses.
These children should like slum children more because we are more adventurous. We don't have much fear of what will happen, injury and all these things.
Yeah.
So obviously this kid would love to, dance with us, play with us. So the mother would come and they say, why the hell you are playing with this losers?
Their mothers would
Yeah.
come.
They assume that we don't take bath. But my mother, she'll make so that today, every day I should take bath. But they assume that because I have dark skin and not good clothes, they would assume that I haven't taken bath. So she'll think that something will happen to her children because maybe I am carrying some disease or something. It's very harsh, very harsh.
The slum where Rahul grew up is called Dhammadeep Nagar. It's home to 1,500 families, most of them Dalits and Muslims. On a baking hot day, Rahul gives us a tour of the area.
In my childhood, we used to all play over here. My childhood friend, his house is there. And now he works as a laborer. There you can see this blue house is my elder brother house, and this one, the green one, is my house, where now my mother and my younger brother stays. And you can see this on every houses there is this Jai Bhim is written. So Jai Bhim is basically to remember the Ambedkar. You can see the blue flags and the Panchashil flag also. Ambedkar chose the blue as a color for his movement, which he says is all of the Akash. The sky is a blue and it doesn't have a limit. After Ambedkar, like Ambedkar converted into Buddhism in 1956. So there are these symbolic representations like a Panchashil flag or the Buddha statue you can see and the Buddha's photos and the pictures in the houses.
Photos of Buddha and several Dalit political icons adorn the walls of Rahul's one-room house. His mother, Hirabai Punaram Sonpimple, is in her early 50s, dressed in a bright red and blue sari. She talks about how hard her own life was, married at 15, giving birth to 5 boys, looking after a sick husband, coping with widowhood, backbreaking work to ensure her children were fed and clothed. She's speaking in Hindi, so I will translate.
फिर वो मट्टी गोटे के काम को जाती थी, लोग अच्छे नहीं ये करते थे, कोई कुछ बोलता था, कोई कुछ बोलता था, यानी ज़्यादा हम मेरे ऊपर ज़्यादा ये करते थे। एकदम जवान थी, बराबर कपड़े नहीं थे पहनने के लिए, साड़ी नहीं, ब्लाउज नहीं।
She's saying that when she used to go to work, people would pass lewd remarks at her. She was young then. She didn't have proper clothes and couldn't even afford a blouse. She washed and wore the same sari every day. And Rahul's father had passed away, so there was no man to speak up for her. Slum culture, Rahul explains, is very vicious. Don't romanticize slums and poverty, he warns. Hirabai says Rahul was in school from the time he was 6 years old.
पढ़ाई यानी होशियार था मेरा लड़का, ये अच्छे हर साल पास होता था। छोटेपन में यानी थोड़ा डेंजर था, यानी कोई बच्चे में इसमें उसमें जाना ये करना।
She says he was very bright. He did well in his studies and passed every year. But she says she used to be concerned about him because he was a danger child who hung out with the bad kids, got into fights. She used to wonder how he would turn out. She says she used to counsel him. She told him, if you're good, it'll be good for our family. He understood by the time he reached class 8 or 9. Rahul says his mother worked day and night to provide books and clothes for him. There were little victories too, he remembers. The one time he won a trophy in a debate and she was so proud of him. In class 10 exams, he scored 56% marks, the highest in his school. Rahul says he could have done better, but he had no maths teacher for half a year. He couldn't afford tuition, and besides he had to work. 2 years later, he hit his lowest point.
No, there was a point when I was in 12th standard. I remember before the exam, I started feeling very, depressed in the sense, like I used to think that I will not clear this exam. And why did this happen? Now I understand, because most of my friends that time also, they used to go for the good tuition classes and all that, and I couldn't afford to do that. I used to feel very, that inferiority, बहुत ज़्यादा फील हो रहा है कि यार कुछ तो like नहीं हो पाएगा हमसे इतना. तो मैं फिर बीच में सोच लेता कि I will never write exam this, and मैं काम ही करूँगा फिर इसके बाद.
He's saying he thought he wouldn't pass his exams and decided not to write them. He thought about leaving studies and working instead.
I remember one day my mother, she was काम से आ रही थी, and I was sitting यहाँ पे बाहर, और जैसे मेरी मॉम आई मैं रोने लग गया था.
And one day she came back from work. He was sitting outside and began to cry.
And then she hugged me and she told me that, no matter what happens, whether you fail or pass, I don't care, but you don't cry. So what else you need in the life?
Rahul's eldest brother Milind is a bakery chef. He dropped out of school when he was 12 and took odd jobs to contribute to the family income, and especially to keep Rahul in school.
पढ़ाई इसलिए नहीं कि हमारे घर में मतलब मेरे फादर अस्थमा के पेशेंट थे, तो फिर और वैसे भी यहाँ पे पढ़ाई का माहौल नहीं था. परिस्थिति ऐसी थी कि हम पढ़ नहीं सकते थे.
Milind says they didn't study much. Their father was ill, he had asthma, and the environment at home was not conducive for education, so he dropped out. They were living in extreme poverty, but Rahul always came first or second in his class. He had a spark, so they put their energies into supporting him and believed he could do something.
फिर 12वीं पास हो गया तो मैं बोलती थी तू क्या बोलेगा वकील, अपन तो डॉक्टर नहीं बना सकते क्या, अपने पास पैसा नहीं है, डॉक्टर को बहुत पैसा लगता है डॉक्टर बनाने को, तो बेटा तू वकील बनना।
When he passed class 12th, his mother told him that she didn't have money to pay for a medical course. So she told him to become a barrister. Rahul would tell her that yes, he would become a barrister. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Rahul first won a scholarship to study Dalit and tribal social work at TIS, the Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. It was for the first time that he experienced what student life is. As Rahul talks, I think about all the things many of us take for granted.
I could go to library anytime, go to the classes. You're having friends now. You don't bother about your meal. In our family, there is no idea of breakfast. Whatever you left there in the house, you have to eat that. I used to be very happy. So you are getting breakfast, some fruits.
From TIS, he went to the prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi, where he is now pursuing a PhD in sociology. Not a barrister, but his mom remains very proud of him.
अभी क्या सपना है मेरा, ये सपना है मेरा लड़का अच्छा बने, बड़ा बने, अच्छा बड़ा बन के नाम रोशन करे मेरा वाला, यानी मेरे को अच्छा रखे। अभी मेरी तबीयत अच्छी नहीं रहती, मेरा बेटा मेरे को पैसे भेजता, बहुत ध्यान रखता।
She's saying that it's her dream that her son will become a big man and take her name forward. Her son, Mera wala, means my one. When she falls sick, he sends her money, he takes good care of her. He calls her every day and takes her to good hospitals. She says everyone recognizes her son. He comes on television, in the papers. She says her son is a big man now. In the past few years, Rahul has established himself as a Dalit student leader. As a junior research fellow at JNU, he's vocal about caste-based discrimination, including on university campuses. He's a prominent member of BAPSA, a student organization that campaigns for inclusivity in education and opposes the caste system. Last month, he was invited to speak at a conference in Bangalore where he addressed a gathering of about 2,000 Dalits.
Yeah. Dalit boy on the mic, representing unspoken truths. Yeah, unspoken truths. Yeah. बता दो हमें अगर बचा है कुछ और क्या क्या देखे, बस इतना ही कहूँगा, मर के भी जीना है, हम लड़ाई।
His friend and fellow activist Sumit Samos took to the stage to rap about Dalit rights. Let's learn to fight, he sings.
लक्ष्मणपुर बढ़ानी टोला कारम चेड़ू चुंदुरु मारी चापी कंदमाल ऊना और मिर्चपुर बता दो हमें अगर बचाए कुछ और क्या क्या देखे बस इतना ही कहूँगा मर के भी जीना है हम लड़ाई सीख ले मर के भी जीना है हम लड़ाई सीख ले मर के भी जीना है हम लड़ाई सीख ले मर के भी जीना है हम लड़ाई सीख ले.
Rahul talks about some recent atrocities against the community and what the government is or isn't doing to address them. In 1950, India introduced quotas in educational institutions and government jobs for the lowest in the caste hierarchy. In recent years, there have been demands from several upper caste communities to include them in the quota system or scrap it entirely. Some of the protests have turned violent. Rahul argues that quotas are necessary because traditionally the system bestowed many privileges on the upper castes while allowing repression of the lower castes. Caste is an ugly reality in India, he says, pointing out the news reports of daily conflicts between caste groups.
If you read the history of caste and the discrimination, you would come to know that there is to be taxes, on Dalits if they want to keep a mustache, or Dalit women wants to cover their breast. It is so surprising that still these practices are continuing and going on. So, for example, you often get to know or get reports in the newspaper that the Dalit grooms get killed or they get attacked by the upper caste if they want to get on the horse during the marriage ceremony, or like a Dalit boy get killed wearing sunglasses or wearing jeans or good clothes. It's so surprising that still these practices are going on, and it has just become very normal in Indian society. It also shows the impunity which upper caste has in this country.
Rahul makes a passionate case for why it's time to do away with the caste system. He says the lower castes, the tribals and the Muslims, who are facing frequent discrimination and violence, are still asking for government protection and equal treatment. But he believes things are not really changing. It's commendable, he says, that the lower castes are largely making their case peacefully in a non-violent way, following Ambedkar's path. His biggest fear is that if the poorest and the socially disadvantaged lose hope and decide to take matters in their own hands, this country would be changed forever. So that was Rahul's story. I'm also keen to hear and share some of your own stories, like this one that comes from a teenager who identifies as transgender. Being forced to wear girly clothes for "you are a girl, don't behave like a boy." Forced to keep hair long, being called names is an everyday chore. Anyway, I told you because I needed to blurt this out. Chest dysphoria, a constant nagging feeling that you are a misfit. I just felt like sharing it with someone. Well, thank you for doing that, for sharing your story with us. Here are a few messages we've received after our last episode on Insya Dariwala, who was abused as a child and now helps other children in India. Kanchana said, "It was so imperative that a dialogue be started around this issue, with the child molestation news almost every day, and these are those which are reported. Goodness knows what number isn't being reported. It broke my heart when a close friend told me about the abuse they suffered as a child, and it also makes it so much more difficult when I see that person struggling in life because of the abuse." And Aditya said, "I am now aware of this diabolical silent epidemic that lingers in our society with a magnitude that has blown my mind. And the thought that possibly any child can be a victim to this barbaric act sends chills down my spine. I'm a father to a 2-year-old daughter, and even the thought of her perhaps falling prey to this silent epidemic causes unimaginable pain." Please do keep sending in your thoughts and stories. You can reach us at BBC World Service on social media. Our hashtag is MyIndianLife, and you can email us at myindianlife@bbc.com. In the next episode, we'll hear about gender identity and what happens when you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. I hope you're enjoying listening to My Indian Life. If you haven't already, do listen to the first 6 episodes, and do keep telling everyone you know about this podcast. Thank you for listening.